I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back.
Sometimes a dish looks great on paper, but turns out to be a dud. So to avoid disappointment, here are the 10 worst Chili's restaurant menu items. Honey-Chipotle Crispers and Waffles.
Waffles!
When it comes to breakfast, forget bacon and eggs, let's talk chicken and waffles.
What?
The savory, crispy chicken pairs perfectly with the sweet, fluffy waffles. At least that's how it's supposed to be. Chili's, on the other hand, thought it would be a good idea to take this classic dish and give it a twist with their Honey-Chipotle Crispers and Waffles. Unfortunately, this dish is anything but a hit. First of all, let's talk about the name. Honey-Chipotle Crispers and Waffles doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. And what exactly are crispers? Well, in this case, they're chicken tenders coated in a sweet and spicy glaze. Sounds good, right? Wrong. When you order this dish, you'll get a plate of chicken tenders, waffles, bacon, jalapenos, and ranch dressing. Yes, you heard that right, ranch dressing. Now, we're all for trying new things, but this combination just doesn't work. The sweet waffles and spicy chicken are completely overwhelmed by the salty bacon and creamy ranch dressing. It's a flavor explosion, but not in a good way. It's not just your taste buds that are disappointed. The Center for Science and the Public Interest 2018 Extreme Eating Awards gave the Honey-Chipotle Crispers and Waffles the title of Least Creative Mashup, and it's not hard to see why.
Yeah? Why?
The combination of sweet, spicy, and salty elements just doesn't work. It's like Chili's tried to reinvent the wheel, but ended up with something that just doesn't roll. Sure, it's different, but it's not necessarily better. Sometimes the classics are a classic for a reason. Chocolate lava cake.
Did you say chocolate?
If you're looking for a decadent dessert to indulge in after a meal at Chili's, the chocolate lava cake might catch your eye. A well-executed lava cake can be a game-changer, offering a warm, gooey center of liquid chocolate surrounded by a spongy chocolate cake. Add a scoop of vanilla ice cream, and it's the perfect sweet ending to a meal. However, Chili's version of the chocolate lava cake may not live up to expectations. According to a former Chili's employee who posted on Reddit, the chocolate lava cake isn't exactly handmade. Instead, it's microwaved for a few minutes before being served. While there's nothing inherently wrong with making things easier with boxed cake mixes or simpler recipes, microwaving a lava cake can result in a subpar dessert.
That's true.
A well-made lava cake requires careful attention to detail. The cake batter must be properly mixed, and the chocolate filling must be melted to the right consistency. The cakes need to be baked for just the right amount of time to ensure that the center is liquidy but not too runny. If not done right, the result can be a cake that's either too dry or too liquidy. While it may be tempting to order a dessert at a restaurant, skipping the Chili's chocolate lava cake and making your own might be the way to go. With just a few ingredients, some mixing, and a little baking time, you can enjoy a delicious homemade version of this classic dessert. Southern Smokehouse Burger.
Free burgers!
Oh boy, the Southern Smokehouse Burger. This bad boy has been making waves, and not in a good way, since its introduction on the Chili's menu.
Oh no, not again!
With a name like Smokehouse, you might expect some savory flavors and a touch of smokiness. But what you get is a greasy, salty mess. Let's start with the basics. This burger patty is just your run-of-the-mill beef patty, nothing special. But Chili's decided to add insult to injury by piling on a bunch of extras that just make the burger a total calorie bomb. Melted cheese? Check. Bacon? Check. Awesome blossom petals, aka onion rings? Double check. While this might sound like a gluttonous heaven to some, it really is just a recipe for disaster. The burger is overpowered by the toppings, making it hard to taste anything else.
That sounds awful.
And while the onion rings might add some crunch, they're just a distraction from the fact that the burger itself is pretty lackluster. But the real kicker is the nutritional information. This burger comes in at almost 3,000 calories. That's more than the daily recommended caloric intake for most people. And if that's not bad enough, the Southern Smokehouse Burger is also loaded with fat, saturated fat, and sodium. In fact, you'll be getting over 270% of your daily suggested sodium intake from this one meal. Better keep that water handy. New to our channel? Then take a quick second and hit that subscribe button. You're the best. Thanks.
Thank you.
Boss Burger. If you're a meat lover, Chili's Boss Burger might seem like a dream come true. After all, why choose between a burger, brisket, ribs, sausage, and bacon when you can have them all in one monstrous sandwich? But before you dive headfirst into this carnivore's paradise, be warned that this one is not for the faint of heart. The Boss Burger is a behemoth of a meal that's sure to leave you feeling full and satisfied. But with all that meat, it's also packed with an obscene amount of sodium and calories.
I am the danger.
In fact, the Center for Science and the Public Interest named it one of the worst foods in America for its high calorie and sodium content. But let's talk about the taste. While the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is a standout with its delicious flavor, it tends to overpower the other meats on the burger. The brisket in particular gets lost in the mix, which is a shame given how tasty it can be on its own. With that being said, the Boss Burger is not without its fans. For those who love a good meat feast and don't mind a bit of mess, this burger might be right up their alley. But it might just be best to stick to a simpler burger with just 1 or 2 toppings. Original Chicken Crispers.
Extra crispy.
When you're in the mood for some chicken tenders, the Original Chicken Crispers at Chili's might seem like a good option. But unfortunately, they don't quite live up to expectations. The breading on these crispers doesn't deliver the crunch and crispiness that you would expect. Instead, it feels oily and falls flat. The chicken itself is also not as tender as it should be, making the experience of eating them less enjoyable than it could be.
I am not enjoying this!
The sides that come with the chicken crispers, fries, and corn on the cob are also a bit of a letdown. It's hard to get excited about a meal that's so lacking in color. While you may not be expecting a healthy meal when ordering chicken tenders, having a little variety on your plate can make all the difference. Thankfully, the honey mustard sauce that accompanies the chicken is quite tasty and adds some much-needed flavor to the dish. Overall, the Original Chicken Crispers at Chili's are a bit underwhelming. If you're looking for a satisfying chicken tender meal, there are better options out there. Ancho Salmon.
Salmon.
If you're in the mood for seafood and are considering the Ancho Salmon at Chili's, you might want to think twice. Cooking salmon correctly can be challenging, and unfortunately, Chili's may not be the best place to get a perfectly cooked piece of fish.
I understand. It's okay.
The risk of getting a dry, overcooked piece of salmon is simply too high. While the Ancho Salmon comes with a spicy citrus chili sauce that is quite tasty, it can't mask the lack of flavor in the salmon itself. The dish is also quite small, and you'll likely be left still feeling hungry after eating it. The broccoli and Mexican rice served on the side are nothing to write home about either, so you may not feel like you're getting your money's worth. Overall, we recommend skipping the Ancho Salmon at Chili's and opting for something else on the menu. If you're in the mood for seafood, there are plenty of other options available that are likely to be more satisfying. Cajun Shrimp Pasta.
Cajun shrimp and duck pasta.
The Cajun shrimp pasta may sound like a tempting option for those who love shrimp and pasta dishes, but before you dive in, let's take a closer look at what you're getting. First off, this dish is anything but light, with close to 1,100 calories. That's a lot of calories to spend on a meal that falls short on taste. Once you dig in, you'll find that the dish is drowning in a creamy Alfredo sauce that overpowers all the other flavors. The sauce is not even remotely Cajun, but instead comes across as bland and generic, more like a sauce you'd find in a cafeteria lunch recipe.
Sounds weird.
Additionally, the pasta in the dish is overcooked, leaving it with a gummy texture that's unappealing. Despite the shortcomings of the sauce and pasta, the shrimp is well cooked and pairs nicely with the green onions sprinkled on top. It's a bright spot in an otherwise disappointing dish. However, with the amount of pasta you'll need to eat to enjoy the shrimp, it's not worth the calories.
Elevator's not worthy.
Classic Ribeye.
Richer flavor from the marbling on the ribeye. So if it were me, I'd go with that.
The classic ribeye is a staple of steakhouse menus all over the world, and Chili's is no exception. But is it worth the price tag? That's up for debate. While ribeye is a beloved cut of meat, it can be tricky to cook just right. And when it comes to a chain restaurant like Chili's, where the focus is on casual dining rather than steakhouse quality, you might be better off skipping the ribeye altogether.
I do not recommend this strategy.
Sure, it might be tempting to order a juicy marbled ribeye for dinner, but you're taking a gamble. The likelihood of getting a perfectly cooked medium rare steak is slim, especially if you're not at a restaurant that specializes in steaks. And while the classic ribeye at Chili's might not be as pricey as at a fancy steakhouse, you're still paying a premium for what may end up being an average piece of meat. So what should you do if you're craving a steak but don't want to break the bank? Consider cooking one at home. With a little bit of practice and a good recipe, you can have a delicious ribeye without having to pay restaurant prices. And if you're set on dining out, consider trying something else on the menu that Chili's is known for, like their famous fajitas or the Southwestern egg rolls. California Turkey Club.
Oh, turkey sandwich.
The California Turkey Club sandwich might appear to be a decent option, especially with all the ingredients it has packed inside. But unfortunately, it doesn't live up to the expectations. If you're at Chili's and hoping to try a unique, flavorful sandwich, you may want to skip this one. The sandwich is made up of bacon, red onion, Swiss cheese, lettuce, tomato, avocado, and turkey. While all of these ingredients may seem like a good combination, the turkey is often quite dry, and the amount of vegetables in the sandwich is not sufficient to add any flavor or texture to the sandwich.
Vegetable tastes like sad anyways.
On the bright side, the cilantro pesto does bring a little bit of excitement to the sandwich, and the avocado is a nice addition that provides a buttery, creamy texture to the sandwich. However, it's not enough to rescue the sandwich from being a mediocre choice. You could easily make this sandwich at home and potentially make it even better. With fresh ingredients, you can make a sandwich that is packed with flavor and not as dry as the one you'll find at Chili's. And if you're going to eat, why not try something a little more adventurous? There are plenty of other options on the menu that are worth a try. Texas Dry Rub Ribs.
Dry rub, no sauce.
When it comes to ordering ribs at Chili's, the Texas Dry Rub Ribs might not be the best choice for those who are looking for a flavorful and tender dish. While the idea of a dry rub may sound exciting to those who want to avoid the mess that often comes with eating ribs, the execution of the Texas Dry Rub is not quite right. The dry rub lacks the depth of flavor that would make it stand out from other rib dishes.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
It's mostly just salty, which can be disappointing to those who are looking for a more complex taste. The rub fails to enhance the flavor of the meat in a way that leaves a lasting impression. Additionally, the meat on the ribs is not as tender as one would expect. It doesn't fall off the bone like the best ribs do. The texture can be a bit tough, making it a bit of a chore to eat, which detracts from the overall enjoyment of the dish.
Better than nothing.
We're always open, so tap or click for another great video. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join our notification squad.